All right, welcome everybody to Real Talk on Real Estate. We're going to talk about the difference between owners and contractor builds. Now, let's talk about owner builds. And the reason, there we go. Okay, owner builds. Okay. Now, here's the thing. You need to know the difference between you going in and building your house, your owner build. If you go in, you take down the build, you're the GC. Even if you don't have a general contractor's license, banks and your local municipality will allow you to do what's called an owner build. Now, the owner builds, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons here in a second. Now, if you hire a contractor, what type of contractor do you hire? How do you utilize them? What's more advantageous? What makes you more money? What makes you less money? Which one's higher risk? And how do you facilitate around them? How much profit does it take away? Or what's the overall cost? And how do you know how to do it without putting yourself in a position where it costs you money versus making you money? Okay, so let's talk about all of this, and let's talk all of this. Actually, that sucker's mirrored. And let's talk about our owner build scenario. Okay, so owner build. Now, you're the contractor, so you're in control. Okay, you're in control because you are the contractor. Okay? Now, for those of you guys that can't manage people, don't do owner builds. Okay? Now, there's a way to hire contractors, and when I'm talking about contractors, I'm not talking about general contractors, I'm talking about subcontractors. Because if you're doing an owner build, it's your duty to go out and hire subcontractors. Now, when we go in, guys, an owner build with banking, the way they're going to look at this is say, okay, the bank is going to require that you go through the exact same permitting process that everybody else does. So you're going to have the requirement of getting surveys, architecture, engineers, and ultimately permits. No permits, no money. Permits equal money, okay? So you have to go in and facilitate the exact same thing. Now, what the bank is going to look for is they're going to look for comps. And they want to know that whatever you're building comps out. And if it doesn't comp out, you're going to have to come to the table with the variance of what it's shy of comping for. And what I mean by comps is what are the comparables? What are the resale comparables that are out on the market? Now, when we go in and we're comparing things that are out on the market, what is it that the banks are going to require of you? So they're going to come in. Now, if you have no experience and you're doing an owner build, okay, they'll let you come in without a general contractor. Because what they'll tell you is they'll say, okay, you have to sign an affidavit that you're going to live in this for 2 years. The state or your local municipality is going to require that you also sign an affidavit that you're going to live in it for 2 years. Now, you might say, what happens if I can't live in it in 2 years? I actually go in and stabilize the asset and I'm done. Well, there's life variables, guys. And the banks aren't going, as long as you're making your mortgage payments or as long as you pay off the debt on that loan, they're not going to, there's no type of illegal, they can't make you live in the damn house, is what, okay? But what I do tell you guys is it's great if you do live in it for 2 years and you're not doing this as a business, but more of a lifestyle decision so that you can pay your mortgage off, pay your car payments off, lower your mortgage payment, have some equity in your home, get some cash out once you sell that home 2 years from now, because you have this capital gains tax incentive that the feds put together years ago. And it's the best $500,000 protection that you have if you're a married couple and the best $250,000 protection that you have if you're an individual. Because if you go out and you have an owner build and you create $250,000 in equity on an owner build, you pay no taxes. Okay, no capital gains taxes. If you're married, $500,000, no taxes. But it's 2 years. What the municipality is trying to prevent, ladies and gentlemen, is people getting taken advantage of fly-by-night contractors. They don't want someone to go in, build a half-par home, sell it to somebody. That contractor disappears. There's no warranty for these people. There's no accountability for what you did for these people. And these people end up with a subpar home with a compromised foundation. It is for you. And they just don't want someone to get taken advantage of. So if for some reason you do have to sell it because maybe there's somebody got ill, or there was a loss of employment, or there was a loss of income, whatever it may be, you can go in, buy what's called a 210 warranty, and that 210 warranty is about $5,000. It allows you to go in, give it to the new home buyers, protects them against any type of damage. They're not in a position to warranty the home, and then you're able to walk away from it knowing that they have some type of backing and real legitimate protection on the back end warranty for that house. Okay, now, but ultimately, live in it for a couple years. You live in it for a couple years. You just sell the damn house as is, and they take it off post inspections, and they have to go through their due diligence to be able to go in and purchase that home. Now, there's disclosure laws, so if you know there's anything wrong with that home, you disclose it. And you don't sell people bullshit. You sell them quality, because that's what we teach, that's what we stand behind, and that's what we require you to do. Now, when we go in, ladies and gentlemen, this is one option. Now, typically, if you're building a house for yourself, it's an emotional decision. I don't believe it should ever be an emotional decision. When it comes down to money and business, I say use logic, ladies and gentlemen. Some people get really heavily involved. If you're only going to live in it for 2 years and take advantage of the taxes, it's not really your home anyways. You're only utilizing it as a bed rest for you for 2 years, and you're utilizing it as a tool for equity and capital income, for capital gains, for growth, and for lifestyle decisions that you're making on your own. Build it so that you can sell it and don't get emotionally attached. What I mean by that, build to suits, people go in, they go, well, I'm building it for myself. It's not for yourself. You're going to build it temporarily for yourself with the intent to sell. And if you have it for the intent to sell, don't get emotional about having an extra rack for your shoes, or making a man cave, or having an 8-car garage that nobody's going to utilize except for you, or going in and doing an extra large master bedroom and an extra large mother-in-law's quarters, or whatever. You have to build what that market is in need of. It doesn't matter what you want. All that matters is what that market needs. And you could build what you want within the parameters of that market, ladies and gentlemen, because you have to build it without emotion. Now, people get caught up on the trim items like the tile, the paint, the door handles, all these monetary things that really make no difference, but they burn time. And so it lands up costing that service because of how much time it takes them to facilitate the physical build. That's why come builders, ladies and gentlemen, when you ask them for a price per square foot, it's always exponentially higher than you can get it for with a set of prints. And they also become psychiatrists. Most of these gentlemen, because most are gentlemen, or women who are general contractors, they become psychiatrists to the emotions of the buyers and the finished users of that asset, because they don't know how to make a decision. And husbands and wives don't know how to communicate to each other, so they bicker and fight on the back end. Then if the husband makes a decision without the wife, then the wife shows up and says, that's wrong, I don't want that. And then it becomes the contractor's fault because they don't know how to communicate. And so why do they charge more when you go and ask them without a set of plans? They charge more because they're dealing with bullshit emotions on a bill that should take 6 months, that takes them a year, because people don't know how to communicate and make decisions, okay? So that's the difference on why the cost per square foot when you go ask a contractor is so high. That's a custom build contractor, not a spec builder, okay? You got to build these houses to the market specs, which is the market specifications that's being sold with the lowest market and the highest price per square foot. Did you hear that? Those two things. The least amount of days on the market, that's what I'm building, check mark. And the lowest days on the market and the highest price per square foot. Two items are the two infinite variables that tell me what I'm building in that market. Nothing else matters, guys. Those two things. Then from those two things, I take that, what's our proven concept in that area, and I build that exact same shit. The same quantity of rooms, the same quantity of bathrooms, bedrooms, that same square footage, everything, because I want my stuff to sell as well. I'm even going to trim it out similar, but I'm going to make it even better. I'm going to go in. Better doesn't mean more expensive, ladies and gentlemen. Better means just better quality. You know, maybe going a little higher with a tile up the wall and just making it a little tiny bit nicer. Maybe just giving them a little tiny bit more of a custom field in their bathroom and it's more modernized. You know, it's just the little things, ladies and gentlemen, maybe just slightly nicer appliances. And so just those little trim items are the biggest variable that might cost you an extra $1,000, $2,000. And sometimes they don't even cost you any money. It just has to do with the quality of the finish out itself and the same price and your ability to manage just a better quality product that's trimmed out nicer and construction that a sophisticated buyer recognizes and ultimately bites onto and takes advantage of. Now, okay, so we know what we know the owner build deal. Okay, now let's talk about contractor build. Okay, when you go in and you hire a contractor, there's what's called the process of 30. Basically, in a nutshell, it's when you go out and you 30 contractors. Okay, and when you interview these contractors, you're looking for a few things. One, you're looking for their overall reputability. You're looking for, do they even service your business model? How do they end up getting paid at the end? And are they even interested in your build? And if they are interested in their build, do you like them? How do your personalities mesh, and are you going to be able to work with them, and are they going to be able to handle you, and are under disputes and disagreements, are you ultimately going to be able to get through that together? Okay, so we're going through this stuff with multitudes of contractors, which ultimately at the end of this interview process lands you up with maybe 3 people that are of quality that you like, and then it just comes down to you selecting the one that you as an individual lands up liking the most. Okay, and it comes down to the terms of how they actually work and what you're actually going to pay them. Okay, now there's multiple ways to pay a contractor if you want to go in and get a contractor. Now, if you do have a contractor, that your overall expense to build is going to be about 15%. So it is going to take about 15% of the equity out of your home. So if you go in and if the home itself, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the 15% of the overall home value, 15% of the overall cost to build. So for sake of example, if we go in and take a house that's say $750,000 dollar home, and let's say that the overall cost to build, not including land, is $420,000. Okay, now it's typically there's 3 ways to get it. There's either what's called the bid model. This is usually the most expensive. Okay, so this one is usually the most expensive. Now then there's what's called the cost plus model. And this one takes management, but if you control the management of the build, is actually typically advantageous. Okay? Now, so when we go in cost plus, it's typically about 15% cost of material plus labor. So it's actually 15% of this number right there. So if you take $420,000 times 0.15, it's about $63,000. Okay? This is going to take about $63,000 to facilitate and hire this contractor, provided this is the cost to build. Okay, now it's a $70,000 retail value, but they're only charging you 15% on the cost of labor plus materials. That's this number right here. Okay, this is your cost to build. Okay, then there's a flat fee. And this flat fee sometimes will come in and they'll say, hey, I want $60,000 to build this house. Okay. Now, the downfall to this one is that they're not incentivized to hit this number. And so if they go over that number, they make more money. They're not incentivized. So it takes a management from you. You have to put contractual obligations in there that if their bids, that you have the ability to also bid that project with third-party contractors. And if their bids don't come within 5% of your bids, you have the ability to override their contractor and hire the one that you have decided to pick based on cost. And that way you can control your overall variable. This typically motivates them and pushes them to be able to stay within a quality and threshold for cost within reason. Okay, so then we do what's called a flat fee on this one. And this one's more controlled. Okay, this is a controlled, but this doesn't incentivize them to be there. Okay, so for management purposes on their end, they're not as motivated. All they have to do is when they get started, they get cut a $20,000 check. After the house gets its frame inspection, which means that the plumbing rough-in, the plumbing top-out, the electrical rough-in, and the heating and cooling rough-in have been done, and you finally get your framing inspection, they get another $20 to start, $20 a frame inspection, and 20 at completion. So it's one payments. Okay, 60K flat fee. That's more controllable. Okay, now I like the cost plus because I can go in and do what's called value engineering. And if I bring all costs down, I'm able to pay them a little bit less, and my overall expenses actually ends up going down. Okay, so there's pros and cons to both of these. You have to decide, who are you as a person? What is your motivation level? What is your ability to manage people? And how involved do you want to be with it? Is this fidelity? Do you want to be able to go out there and do the construction? Are you creative? Do you want to be, or do you go in and hire somebody that can help you, where you don't have to go out and source your own subcontractors? You don't have to worry about sourcing your own materials. They usually have these available to you because they have suppliers and labor that's already been sourced because they've been in the business. That's the benefits to you. Now, I'll tell you guys the easiest way to go source subcontractors is just drive into a DR Horton, Pulte, Lennar Home, Centex Home Subdivision. One of the big builders, the big national builders, drive into one of their divisions at 7 a.m. in the morning, go in there and talk to every subcontractor that's working. You're not there. It's a free enterprise system. There's not monopolies in the United States. So you can go in and it is free enterprise. They do not own those contractors, guys. And those roads, they're public roadways. You have every right to be on those roadways in those subdivisions. And so you just go in and you guys get phone numbers. A lot of times the superintendents running them will even help you if you talk to them and you're cool and you're not an ass to them. If you go in and you talk to those guys, a lot of those dudes are really cool, and you just tell them, hey, I'm building a house, I'm poaching some subs, I just need some phone numbers. I've had them actually pull out what kind of contracts you're looking for. I'm looking for drywall guys. Here's the number. And he goes, they'll even text them to you a lot of times. So we go in, sourcing subcontractors is fairly easy. Once you actually find one or two really high quality subcontractors, those guys know other subcontractors, and a lot of times we land up hiring a lot of our subcontractors through the means of referral from other subcontractors because these guys all work together. It's a very small industry, it's a very small world within your own community. Nonetheless, I love owner builds because retention of equity increases, and like this one right here is typically the most expensive. They might charge you $100K plus on top of your build cost, maybe even more. But I like it because I can retain that equity, go in and take control of it. But we know how to manage people. You know how to manage people, but are you willing to do it? Ladies and gentlemen, there's so much opportunity in the ground up game. Take advantage of it. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are watching this on repeat, put #repeat. You guys want to learn how to underwrite this stuff and really protect yourself so that you never lose money on a real estate deal, provided that you execute based on our direction and leadership. Pass out to Miami on September 27th, 28th. I'm doing my Build Wealth workshop, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be the first to tell you that I don't do these very often. We're doing one now on September 27th, 28th. That is the last public conference that I'll do in 2005, and we have nothing scheduled for 2026 yet. We don't know what city it's going to be in. Get your ass to Miami before the holidays, and let's get you understanding this stuff inside and out. DM me, go out and click and subscribe so that you get notified anytime I release a new video, so that way you have great building hacks on how to go out, do owner builds or ground up construction for investment and business purposes. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, smash that thumb, put your comments down below. God bless, and go out and compound your success.